On the 9th of February 2026, following the conviction of Jimmy Lai, founder of Next Digital, under the Hong Kong National Security Law and a sentence of 20 years imprisonment, the vast majority of the Hong Kong SAR's serious national security cases have now drawn to a judicial close. And when we look back, can anyone seriously deny that the national security law, since its implementation on 30th June 2020, marked a decisive turning point for public order in Hong Kong? HKGPao and Silent Majority for Hong Kong jointly produced a program, Hong Kong National Security Law, Trials and Verdicts, reviewing several major national security cases to see how Hong Kong, after experiencing unrest, has enforced the law to bring wrongdoers to justice. In our very first episode, the spotlight falls on Joshua Wong, former Secretary-General of Demosistō. We'll trace how much of his life has been spent entangled in violations of the law and examine the path that led him into imprisonment. Let us rewind the clock. From the unlawful Occupy Central in 2014 to the Mong Kok riot in 2016, separatist sentiments advocating so-called Hong Kong independence began to fester. Then came the 2019 amendments to the extradition bill, seized upon by ill-intentioned actors. Anti-China and destabilizing elements rode the tide of black-clad violence, chanting pro-independence slogans, vandalizing property at will, assaulting innocent citizens, even privately stockpiling firearms and manufacturing explosives. Were these not the hallmarks, the early warning signs of terrorism? And under such circumstances, could ordinary citizens truly feel safe stepping out onto the streets? As the situation lurched ever further out of control, the central authorities acted decisively and without hesitation. On 30th June 2020, the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress unanimously passed the Law of the People's Republic of China on safeguarding national security in the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, incorporated into Annex 3 of the Basic Law and brought it into force that very same day. And yet, even after the law was in place, were there not still those determined to test the limits, to challenge the very bottom line of legality? As of the 1st of March 2026, across all relevant legislation, 389 individuals have been arrested in cases involving suspected acts and activities endangering national security. Of these, 208 individuals and 5 companies have been prosecuted, and among them, 179 individuals and 4 companies have already been convicted, including those sentenced and those still awaiting sentencing. Then came July 2020. In blatant disregard of or outright violation of the national security law, the opposition camp pressed ahead with the so-called primary election. To what end? In order to enter the Legislative Council and then weaponize the lawful power to veto bills, paralyzing the Hong Kong government from within or in pursuit of subversion. Of the 47 defendants, only Li Yuxin and Lau Huichong were acquitted. The rest received prison sentences ranging from 4 years and 2 months to 10 years. The court made it crystal clear, subverting the constitutional order of the Hong Kong SAR by unlawful means does not require violence and is not confined to conventional criminal acts. And at the very center of this web stands a young figure whose name has run like a thread through years of unrest since 2012, former Secretary-General of Demosistō, Joshua Wong. He was ultimately sentenced to 4 years and 8 months in prison for violating the national security law. According to the prosecution, the conspiracy to subvert state power unfolded across 4 major fronts: the parliamentary front, the international front, the street front, and the labor union front. Joshua Wong, himself a participant in the primary election, was deeply involved in what was termed the international front. He advocated foreign sanctions against both the central government and the Hong Kong SAR. He promoted an international front call for a legal majority and even floated the notion of international mutual destruction as leverage against the central authorities. On social media, he openly mapped out plans linking the electoral front with the international front. In March 2020, he initiated a joint petition and wrote to then United States Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, urging Washington to sanction officials allegedly involved in what he described as police brutality. And during the period of violent unrest, were his ties with foreign forces merely incidental? On 6 August 2019, he met Julie Ide, then political unit chief at the United States Consulate General in Hong Kong and Macau. On the 9th September 2019, he took Hong Kong's turmoil abroad, traveling to Germany to meet then German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas. Most strikingly of all, on the 17th September 2019, Joshua Wong, together with singer Denise Ho, attended a United States congressional hearing and was received by then Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi. He openly called upon the United States Congress to pass the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act, prompting condemnation across multiple sectors of Hong Kong society. At that time, he was not yet 23 years old. But beyond calls for international sanctions, the prosecution also described his past record on the street front as remarkable. And indeed, since 2012, Joshua Wong has remained a constant presence in street movements. As convener of scholarism, he persistently campaigned against moral and national education, ultimately forcing the government to shelve the curriculum guidelines and catapulting himself into the public spotlight in the process. On the eve of the unlawful Occupy Central movement on 26 September 2014, Scholarism and the Hong Kong Federation of Students launched a student strike in protest against the NPC Standing Committee's 31st August decision regarding the method for selecting the chief executive by universal suffrage and the formation of the Legislative Council. Joshua Wong urged students to storm the East Wing forecourt of the central government offices. What began as a class boycott quickly spiraled into violent clashes, and during the subsequent police clearance operation, he was arrested. By 28 September, Benny Tai seized the moment to formally launch the unlawful Occupy Central movement, unleashing the 79-day disruption that would plague Hong Kong. Joshua Wong was later convicted for his role, initially receiving a community service order. Following an appeal by the Department of Justice, his sentence was increased to 6 months imprisonment, before the original sentence was ultimately reinstated upon final appeal. In April 2016, together with Nathan Law and Vanessa Chow, he founded Demosistō. His actions grew bolder and his prison terms more frequent. During Occupy Central, he and others violated court injunctions by obstructing bailiffs clearing the Mong Kok occupation zone. In January 2018, he was sentenced to 3 months imprisonment for contempt of court, later reduced to 2 months on appeal in May 2019, leading to his release on 17th of June 2019. Fresh out of prison and with 2019 riots erupting, he plunged straight back in. On 21st June 2019, alongside Vanessa Chow and Ivan Lam, he participated in the siege of police headquarters, accusing officers of indiscriminate arrest and violent treatment of protesters. On the 7th July 2019, during a march in Kowloon, he demanded an apology from British Police Superintendent Rupert Dover for deploying tear gas during the 12th June Admiralty riot. Draping unlawful acts in the language of protest did not place him beyond the reach of justice. He was sentenced to 13.5 months imprisonment for the police headquarters siege, 4 months imprisonment for violating the prohibition on face covering regulation and participating in an unlawful assembly, and 3 months imprisonment for doxing a police officer who discharged his firearm in Sai Wan Hall along with the officer's family. And yet, even as a frequent inmate, did genuine reflection ever follow? During mitigation in the illegal primary election case, he did not personally submit a plea letter. Instead, counsel merely conveyed his wish to move on. Was that not an unmistakable trace of arrogance, if not disdain, for the judicial process itself? He had once expected release in 2027, but in June 2025, he was arrested yet again while already in custody, this time charged with conspiracy to collude with a foreign country or with external elements to endanger national security. The case was mentioned again in court this March and adjourned to 14th of May for committal proceedings to the High Court. Joshua Wong's youthful recklessness both ignited unrest and enabled him to consolidate influence amid chaos. In the end, he has moved in and out of prison time and again. When will he finally complete his sentence? Only heaven knows. In our next episode, we will turn to Benny Tai, a principal figure in the illegal primary election case, and examine how he worked in concert with Joshua Wong and others to bring chaos to Hong Kong. Thank you for watching.